This evening, we're learning Beis Hashem, the Dvar Malchus of the Rabbi from Shabbos Parshas Tetzaveh, which was the same. It was Oda Rishon then, because Toshin Nun Beis was a Shnas Ha'ivor. But it so happens that it's the same day in order as we have this year, as was then in Order Aleph. It was Yud Aleph. And Shabbos Tetzaveh was Yud Aleph, Order Rishon. So we're going to be learning a sikha from the Rabbi on that beneged to Parshas Tetzaveh. And Beis Hashem, the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesset of the Tzedek in Year HaKodesh, and the Year Atiko of Year HaKodesh Tsfat, Techenu V'Sibainen B'Mheir of Yomeinu. Amen. And Beis Hashem, this evening, it's Yom Chamishi, Moitzoi Tes Odor, Oyer Liyud Odor, Toshin Pei. So the reason, the other sikha of Parshas Tetzaveh, here in the Dvar Malchus on Parshas Tetzaveh. The other sikha we've learned possibly 3 times already, but this sikha we didn't learn so far, and I have another special reason why I wanted to learn this sikha, and that is that the Masechta Shabbos in the sugya of Matan Torah, after Moshe Rabbeinu came onto Har Sinai, and the Malachim said, what is this possible Adam doing up here amongst us? Give us the Torah. What do you need him for? So Hashem asked Moshe Rabbeinu to reply. He said, you should give the answer. So Moshe Rabbeinu answered what he answered. So it's on the Riches. That's quite well known what he answered them. And so they were so, how would you call it, crushed and so impressed and taken by what Moshe Rabbeinu answered them, that the Tzemach Mem, the angel, who is the Satan, he also decided to give Moshe Rabbeinu a present, like all of them. They all gave presents. The Gemara learns out from a posse. And so the Gemara says, what sort of a gift did the Tzemach Mem? What did he give Moshe Rabbeinu? So the Gemara says that he taught Moshe Rabbeinu that the Ketores is a segula levatel mageipois, and how do you call it? Improper, diseases and all that sort of thing. That the Ketores is the answer to that. And so the Gemara says, we see a Mafurish Dugma that after the Inyan of Koirach and so on, there was a Magefa that smote the Jewish people, and Moshe Rabbeinu said to Aaron, take the Ketores and go swiftly amongst the people, because it started a Magefa. And it's written, and Aaron went with the Ketores, and Magefa Ne'atzora, the Magefa was stopped. There's a whole riches of different pratim and background to the whole thing, but that's in the Nakuda. So therefore I thought, given the present situation of the world, etc., and it's interesting, I just want to, and the Rabbi mentions this point, I just don't know when I get that far, because, we don't always, complete the whole sikha due to that Mordechai mentioned to me, or maybe it was Benji, when we were driving here, that Israel has closed off its borders, and most countries are not able to bring people in now to Israel, except for a few Medinas that are still left that can actually come in. So I think that's a dogma of Am Levodod Yishkoin. That means that they're Levadad Yishkoin. And I just want to make one point without Chas v'Shalom throwing any Ayin Hara or anything of that nature. But let's just think for a second that the people who have the machla, but that has caused a necessity for quarantine for tens of thousands of people in here and there, so that are actually, like Bidud, as it's called, Am Levadad Yishkoin. It's also the same word. Mm-hmm. Is al-Chafanim. It's not that the disease came from Eretz Israel. They got the disease abroad, and they were verhaft, they were nidbak alidei anashim mechutz Hashem Shalom. I don't want to throw any Ayin Hara, Chas v'Cholila, Chas v'Shalom, but it's an important thing to notice that the cases that exist in Eretz Yisrael are not from Eretz Yisrael, they're from abroad. They're what people brought in, and therefore that's a dogma of Am Levadad Yishkoin, that they would Yidna Levad. And then just to add to that whole point, as I was coming in here this evening, Mordechai mentioned to me that there's a Yid here in Eretz that they claim he's found a vaccine against this whole terrible thing. Corona, or whatever is that he's found a vaccine and they're testing it now to the last point to see if it really, is going to be effective.
Only for Jews.
So that indicates that not only that the Jewish people are going to dwell on.
Right, because all the people in Israel shouldn't get it.
I'm only hearing what I was told. I've been so busy and I've been trying to catch up with my Seder that I haven't had a chance to hear any news or to know anything that's going on. But I was informed by somebody this evening, and Mordechai added to my information. We have this Indian of in Eretz Israel, which well known the Hashkocha, is mufla, absolutely pshili ploys shogile alakus, the whole union of Hashkocha produce and Eretz Israel. So Hashem Shalom, we have to be mischazik, so we have to know that every Indian in Torah mitzvahs is mamtik dinim, every nakuda of Elokus and B'frat. What we're going to learn now is how do you call it, mamshik chasodim and brachamim, beis Hashem, and like the Baal Shem Tov said that eis tzorah hi le'yankoim umimeno yivosheya, from the actual tzorah itself will come the big teshua, beis Hashem, and it'll be connected with the great teshua of Melech HaMashiach. That'll be the emissary, his galus of how leadership by Yidden should really be. The manigamiti of the whole human race will be misgal taken. Parshasenu matchila b'dinei hadrokas neres. The Parsha Tetzaveh, rather unusually begins with Hadrokas Neres. Now, why do I say rather unusually? Because we already had about the menorah in Parsha Truma, all the measurements and the dinim and the menorah we already had. And later in Parsha Emor, near the end of Sefer Vayikra, we're going to have the whole union of the Neres again. And over there, Rashi writes Mefurish that that's the mitzvah lahadlik et haneres. You follow? Truma was just telling us how to make the menorah and the neres and the shemen chulu. But the actual mitzvah to light it is over there in Parshas. So I asked the question, what are the neres really doing here? They're very mystical and they're very remarkable. So we're going to see as we go along, perhaps a whole suggestion as to how to overcome that. However, the Parsha, mysteriously enough, begins with the whole union of lighting the neres. Vayichu eilecha shemen zayizach, that the Eibusha says to Moshe Rabbeinu, doesn't mention his name, and that's throughout the whole Sedra, as we know. Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned, but Ator, the Eibusha calls him you should see that the Yidden will bring you the shemen zayis, and your function will be lahar loish ner tamid. What that's the union of the hadlokas haneres of the menorah. So that's the beginning. Begam mistayemes bedine hadloka. The whole end of Parshas Tetzaveh, right at the Shiur of the Parsha, once again, hadlokas haneres. Or befrat bedine haktoyres. And that inyan of the hadlokas haneres is mentioned especially in the middle or the connection with the dinim of the ketores. And not just the ketores, but what's called the mizbach ketores, the golden altar in the pneumius of the heichal inside. That was the mizbach ketores. That's mentioned right at the end of the parsha. And in reference to that, also the neres. And therefore it's written that when does Aaron supposed to bring the ketores onto this golden altar, which has now been constructed? He said, that when Aaron will come in, and Aaron means any coin for the lapoyo, when he comes into the heichal, the sanctuary, in order to anyway light up the lights, well, that's when he'll offer the ketores. Yeah. So we see that the parsha is dealing with the ketores, but mentions a whole thing when he will be coming in to light the lights. So we see that the lights are mentioned also at the siyum of the parsha. At the beginning they're mentioned, and at the siyum. But in the siyum, they have the special relationship with the inyan haketores. However, yesh no kesher miyuchad bein hanoires leketores. From that it would appear that there's a special connection between the etzem inyan of lighting the menorah with the inyan of the ketores. Hamizbateh bu'uvda, and that expresses itself through the fact shaketores. Haktorah lahalocha, that the haktorah of the ketores, mamish halocha b'poyo, b'divrei chachomim, neged das Abba Shaul. We're soon going to make a whole amazing point about that. Yeah, ba be'emtza hadlokas haneres b'poiker. Yeah, madlichim chameish neres. That's what the Gemara tells us, the Mishnah and the Gemara in Masechta Yuma tell us the whole Seder, that when the Kohen lit the lights in the morning, according to the Rambam, he lit the lights. According to other great authorities, he didn't light in the morning. He only made, clean and prepared the lights. The only time that he lit was in the Bein HaBoim. But also upon him, he made a whole pa'ula, which is called Hatovas Haner. So the Mishnah and the Gemara tell us that he divided it into two activities or two pa'ulas. First of all, he did 5 lights. According to the Rambam, he lit 5 lights. According to all the others, he prepared and was made the neres. And after 5, he made an interruption. He didn't light the other 2. And then he went and he was matir the ketores. You follow? That's according to the Chachomim. But if you guys remember that in the morning, we say in Korbanos, we say a whole brisa of Abba Shaul. Abba Shaul was a Tana. By the way, he's buried just up near Beria. You probably know about that. As Abba Shaul, he says the whole Seder, how the whole Seder of all the Vedas Hamikdash was b'meshech the day, from the beginning in the morning through till the Tomid Shalbein Ho'abayim. And he says that after the Tomid Shalbein Ho'abayim, that was the completion of all the Korbanos and all the Inyanim. He writes over there that the Torah's Haktoris is separate from the Neres. He says that when they made this interruption between 5 and 7, he says in the middle they were, how do you call it, not Makrid, but they were Zerech as Dam Hatomid. They made the Dam Hatomid on the Mizbech HaChitzai. And then they lit the Torah Stein Eretz. And that's what we say every day. And Anach Nomrim it Kol Yom in that prayer. So that's not the halacha. The halacha is not that way. Because the Gemara says that the Chachamim differ with that. And the Chachamim say that he used to be makriv the Keteres between the Chamesh and the Stein of the two extra neres. He was makriv the Keteres. So later, the Rebbe is going to talk. Why is it that in our prayers, that all Yidden before they say a day of Abba Shaul, which is not halacha? Why do we? And Abaya makes a whole thing about it. Abaya have a Masada say to Hamarah. And Abaya was a big Moedah. But in many, many things, the halacha is according to Abaya. But in this particular case, it's not. It's according to the Chachamim. And the Chachamim say the whole Seder differently. So according to the Chachamim, the Hadlochas HaNeres and the Keteres are mamish all in one pu'ula. First of all, you make the 5 Neres, then you make a stop, then you offer up the Keteres, then you continue with the other 2 Neres. Come to us that the Haktoras is in the middle of the Neres. That's a halacha. That's the way we pass. And later, I don't know if we'll get that far, but later we'll talk about how that all fits in. So, the Rabbi says, according to the Chachamim, neged das avashol, bo be'emtza hadlochas haneres b'boiker. The offering, the Haktoras Haktoras, is mamish in the middle of the neres. Yeah, madlikim chamesh neres, maktirim k'toras, v'rachacha mikay mesayimim es hadlocha. What's the other 2 neres? That there's a very close kesher between the offering of the keteres and the lighting of the lights. So we need to understand what's that sort of kesher, what is this very special involvement of the offering of the keteres and the lighting of the neres HaMenorah. So he said, "Mikivan shelakol Yehudi yeshnoi mishkan or mikdash proti balei." Since every year is supposed to have a mishkan, and later, or further development, he's supposed to have in Yoni HaMikdash, proti balei. Kenema, as we know, the famous cloud of the Shloah Kodesh and the Alshich, what most people up here in Tsfat call him the Alshich HaKodesh. So one does anyhow, we call him the Alshich HaKodesh. And his Beit Knesset not very far from here, down a bit further down in the old city here of Amela. They hold the Rasuli Mikdash v'shochanti b'soicham, and they say it should be written Rasuli Mikdash v'shochanti b'soichoi. Yeah, what is b'soicham? Ela b'toi kol echod ve'echod me'Yisrael. That the Beis Hamikdash is built in a special place, but it's really meant to be, as it were, translated into the life of every Yid, and he becomes like a Mikdash proti miyuchad ayid. And the Father Rebbe says, "B'toy kol Yehudi moving." Since that's the case, and we got a Mikdash inside us, then we've got to live in avodas Hashem. This connection between the neres and the keteres. Moving shegam hadlochas haneres, Inside every Yid, it's going on every day. This whole union of offering Torahs and the Neres, this organic connection with it, goes on every day inside a Yid. But Tzodik Lahovin, Mahu Hadlokas HaNeres, we need to understand what are these two inyanim and how do they interrelate in the way that they do al pi halacha. And since we're amigdos, every Yid is amigdos, he's got to do it that way. But obviously, it has for him also a tremendous significance in how he's to serve Hashem. We need to understand him. Okay, what is the interrelationship between the two inyanim? So he said, "Shailan noisefes misoeres yeloer hahevdel hamahusi shebein Parshas Truma leParshas Tetzaveh." So the Rabbi said that if we are misboinen in the two parshas, Parshas Truma and Parshas Tetzaveh, what they talk about Inyoni HaMikdash, of Inyoni HaMikdash is the Kalim of the Mikdash, and the Uriah said he got the actual oil and all the details. That's Parshas Truma. Parshas Tetzaveh is more concerned with the Kohanim and the Kedusha of the Kohanim and what we might call the initiation of the Kohanim into their avodah. So therefore, in this parsha, we see up to Rabbi, we see all the dinim of the big day kahuna and how they were to be given to Aaron, the big day Kohen Gadol, and the tzitz, which is very special to the Kohen Gadol and everything. And then the begonim of a Kohen Hedyoy, the ordinary Kohen. And then immediately we start learning the Shivas Yemei Miluim, what Rashi writes right at the very beginning, that the whole purpose of the Miluim was Kadesh Ulahaknis es HaKohenim La'avidoso. The Parshas Tetzaveh is concerned with the kahuna. Yeah, how do you call it? You have a Beis Hamikdash, but you got to have servers in the Beis Hamikdash. And who are they? Arinu, Ubono Bazara, Yatzov. We're told about that in Parshas Tetzaveh. So the Rabbi said, if you're misbeinen, they should come up with a question. So he said, Parshas Truma midaberes oides dini hamishkon v'keilo. Ve'ilo Parshas Tetzaveh midaberes oides kuhunosei shel Aaron ubono. It talks about the kahuna and how to bring them into that and how to give them the begodim. But chila oides bidei Aaron. Yeah, ve'ilo likras soifim u'doveva shivas yemei amiluim bohem nishkashu Aaron ubono b'foyo la'avedus hamikdash. That's how they became initiated. Miluim is the idea of like a loose translation into English is initiating them into the whole thing. Ve'im kain nisheret ha'sheila madua yetchilas ha'parsha v'siyuma medabrim oidos haneres v'ha'toiros. Since the whole parsha of Tetzaveh is unusual, it's all to do with the Kohanim and how to make them Kohanim and how to make them everlasting. For all the days to come. They are the Mishpachas HaKehuna. And Mamela itself, the Shagel, why does that parsha begin with the Torahs and the Neres? Yeah? Both it begins and ends. He said, B'shash kol parsha kula midaberes oides kahunas Aaron ubono. Yeah. So, what's the connection between the Torahs and the Neres? Tafki with Kohanim. So he said, you say to Mizu, even more than that. He said, Mekoyim shel Parshas HaNeiros, v'gam Parshas HaKteros, hu b'Parshas Truma, l'choyre. And the Neres is like mentioned in Parshas Truma, but it's like rather mysteriously mentioned again at the beginning of this Parsha. But he said the Mizbach HaKteros is one of the Kelim. It's one of the Kelim in the Mishkan. So why is that not mentioned in Parshas Truma? It's not mentioned of the Mizbach Zahor. in Parshas Truma. It's only mentioned at the end of everything, after all the dinim of the Mishkan and the Kohanim, and all of a sudden it says, "Vasisa Mizbach Hataras Ketayles." You have to make a golden thing. That should have been way back in Parshas Truma. Yeah, he said, Parshas Truma, Shishon, Masupa, Oidus Maisa, Haman, Oida, Yadim Kol Klei Mishkan. And why is it not mentioned over there? The Ketayles, the whole Mizbach. I has Belakach, says the Rabbi, the explanation for that. Sheba Parshas Ketayles, Mofia Davke, Besof Parshas Tetzaveh, Below Bein Klei Mishkan, yeah, Parshas Truma, who bishvil lahadgish es goydel ma'aloso shel haktoiles. The reason that the Ketores and the Mizbeach of the Ketores is like separate and kept very specially all the way to the end, well, that's got a special reason because of the very special milah that there is in the Ketores. But even more than that, we could say, and it's brought down in some of the great Meforshim, that the fact that we mentioned the Mizbach HaTorah at the end of the whole Aveda, after everything, is because, like the cloud, we have soft miser, but machshava tchila. Yeah, what soft miser, machshava tchila, we say it every Friday night in the Lechot Deidi. But it's actually a lashon, a very similar lashon that occurs in a medrash. A soft ma'aser b'machshava techila, that when you complete something, yeah, but ma'aser after everything, that's like the ultimate last step in ma'aser b'poyo. Or that's the similar. That's what you really meant. That's what you really had in mind at the very height of your pneumias of your machshava. That's the pshat, soft ma'aser machshava techila. Since the Ketores occurs at the end, after everything, after all the kahuna, and after all the kainim, and after everything, is a simon that we really mean the inyan of the. You have to be careful not to, have a drummer, because I'm saying that not cholila, because I know you wanna be in fellow. This is mele. Soft ma'aser b'machshava techila means that there's some very amazing point about the Ketores, what comes right at the end. You follow? And connected with that is the narrative. So he says Mizbach HaNechoishes, well, that's the copper Mizbach, that's outside in the chotzer of the Mishkan and the Azora of the Beis Hamikdash. Achitzoini, all of Makrivim as Kobonis. On the Mizbach Achitzoin, on the Mizbach made out of copper, or there we offer Kobonis. So the Rebbe brings a very special medrash. It's a medrash Tadshei. It's an unusual medrash. I have a copy of it somewhere, but it's amongst all my svarim. That certain people here are well informed of my svarim spread out in different places. But anyway, whatever, that medrash says that that's like the body. Had he got the outer mizbeach, what you offer korbanos, he says that's a mashal for the guf of a Jew. He said, "Ve'ilo mizbach hazoho apnimi ashayik leketoros nimshal lenishama." Yeah. So how do we get this dimayon between the korbanos on the meat, the mizbach chitzon, with the guf, and the neshama with the mizbech pnimi? How do we get it? So he said, if you look carefully, as I stated in the Medrash Tadshei, if you look carefully, what happens to the korbanos ultimately, except for an oil? A korban is kuli la'ishim. Of all the korbanos get eaten in one way or another, either by the kohanim or even by the baalim, like the shlomim and called Pesach and all all those korbanos are eaten by the person who brings them. And the chatois and hashomes, they're eaten by the kohanim. Yeah. So the inyan of the mizbeach hachitzon is achila, and achila is side to the guf. The guf eats. As we all are very, very well informed, eating is a demand and an activity of the body. However, he said, your neshama doesn't eat. It might benefit from the eating in that ultimately causes a chiyuv between the neshama and the body. However, it's not really shy to say that the neshama eats. He said that fits in very well with the Mizbach HaTorah, because Keteris is Reyach, and the neshama, the Gemara and the Medrash tell us that the neshama does have, benefit from Reyach. The Indian of Ein HaGuf nena mi'arer el HaNeshama. Shenema kol HaNeshama ta'aliyah al tikrei Neshama el Neshima. That the, how do you call it, the Neshama, it has a benefit from Reyach. However, Reyach is not a food. Yeah, Reyach is not food for Klal. On the contrary, Reyach indicates something very, very elevated, and Reyach is indicatory of Ruchnias. And therefore, on the one hand, the Mizbach HaChitzon is shy to Achila, Mashiach the Mizbach HaPnimi is shy to Reyach, and therefore that's shy to the body, and that's shy to the Neshama. As you can, the Avodas HaTorah on the Mizbach HaPnimi is shy to the inyan of the Neshama. Avamela says the Rebbe Kishem Shaguf Oichel Kakama Korbanos on the Mizbach and the Choishes Necholim, they are eaten. Ukishem Shanishoma Nenes Rakmi Reyach. It doesn't have any, how do you call it, Hanoah Gashmis from anything, only from Reyach, which is a Inu Rukni. Kak Mizbach Azov Matilim Bo Rak Toilas. The whole Inu of the Keteris is only L'Reyach. Yeah, Bilva. It's not, the Korbanos also have Reyach Nechoyach Lashem, but that goes speaker through the Inyan of the Hakovan, the Shkita, and all those Inyan finalizing in the Inyan Achila. Behetem Lechach, or Gama Toitzoa. Therefore, each of these factors have certain, what you might call results or certain effects with an E effect that come from them. Akorbanos yoitrim kido bilvad lahakodesh. The word korban is from Russian kido. What you eat from the korbanos on the mizbach and the choishes, through that you form a kiru to a kodesh. Well, that's the whole idea of a korban, is an initial kiru. It's well known, the Rabbeinu Bechaya, the famous Rabbeinu Bechaya, what he said, the word korban is from the word kiru. That causes a kiru bilvad. I mean, the word bilvad is compared to higher things. A kiru with the avis is a good as that. The ilo atoidat shepirusha barami su kishira. It's well known that the word ketores is the word for a knot in Aramic. That's in of a kashira. Well, that mikashira says a yudi laboyre. When you mark to the ketores on it, that is mezacher or yidden, that they become bound up to the Eibishter, not just pekilu velo, but they become kosher. Mamish Batz Musay. That's how he's masbir later on. So there's a difference between just being Makoda and being Mamish Makusha and Misachi in Makodesh Bo. The Korbanis on the Mizbach Chitza, they cause a kiru, we become close. But the Keteris is much higher, and that causes us to be bound up with the Eibishter, absolutely. He said, "V'zu hi asiva lakach sheparshas haktoros mafia b'siyum dinei hamishkan v'hakahuna." Well, that is a very amazing mitzvah that is there in the Ketores, and therefore, like we said, soft ma'aser b'machshava tefillah. Dafki at the end, that's where the Ika Kvetch is. How they call the Ika Uftu is Dafki in the end. So he said that's why the Ketores comes at the end. But you say to Mizu, but Parsha Nifredet, it comes like on a separate Parsha. All of a sudden, we've been talking about the Kuna, the whole Parsha, all sorts of different aspects of the Kuna. All of a sudden, boom. And then we talk about the Kov Matomid. And then all of a sudden, we talk about the Mizbach HaTorah. So he said it's like a sort of a siyum all the time, a Parsha Nifredet. The Akri Divrei HaSikum ala Mishkan. So the Rebbe says that even like all the Inonim of the Mishkan, there's also a sort of like a siyum. At the end of Parsha Shishi, which talks about the Kol Tomid, the pasuk says, "V'noyadeti hishama livnei Yisrael v'nigdash b'chvedi." I will meet up with the Jewish people here inside this Mishkan, and I will be sanctified through my COVID, which is going to be here. And there's another lashon over there, what the Rabbi mentioned inside in the Sikha. L'shochni b'tocham. I'm going to dwell through the whole Mishkan with the Kohanim, with the. I'm going to dwell on Ali. So we've already mentioned everything, and we've even made like a summing up of the whole Indian of the Mishkan. And once we've done all that, all of a sudden we get a parsha, the Mizbach HaTorah. It's a simon that the Mizbach HaTorah is an even higher summing up of everything. There's something very special that it's like the siyum of everything connected with the Mishkan. So he says, "B'dei lahadgish sha'kesed shel b'nei Yisrael im HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'tachlis hashleimas na'aseh al yidei HaTorah." All the inyanim of the Mishkan bring us to be close with the Yebusha. They cause us a relationship. However, the inyan of Keteris makes you completely and utterly bound up with Hashem in a way of tachlis, hashleimas. Absolutely the highest way you can be bound up with him. He said, "Asiyam v'atachlis shekol ha'parshas hamishkan." Well, so the Rebbe says that ultimately, the whole inyan of the Mizbach HaTorah at the end of everything is to show that there's always higher and there's always a slough of more perfection and more ultimate absolute unity with Hashem than what you imagine, even outside of Yisranifla. And here you've got the whole Mishkan, you've got all the Kohanim, you've got all the shleimas of all the called Natomid with the other Inyanim, and the Eber story. He said, "This is where I'm going to dwell amongst you." And, it's wonderful. But you must never sort of pause and say, "Oh, how wonderful is it?" You've got to be able to realize that even there's higher than that. There's a Inyan of absolute iskashrus, amitius, betoik the Eber in a way that's higher than all those things. And that's the Indian of the Ketores. So we're going to have to ask ourselves the question, what's so special about the Ketores? That's what why I wanted to learn the Sikha tonight on the basis of that Gemara that I said at the beginning, how the Tzemach man told Moshe Rabbeinu, the great scholar of the Ketores. So the Rebbe says, Im Kain, we got to be mizbeinan in this whole inyan of the Ketores. We've got to think about it for a few minutes to try and work out what is the power of the Ketores that it's able to bind up in a way that you can't bind yourself through all the other inyanim with all their mighters. Only the Ketores can do that. So he says, "His bondness ma'amika b'mizbach HaTorah yevil chaysol." He said a more deeper his bondness, a more how would you call it, profound. His bondness in the Mizbeach HaTorah and the halachas of Saim, Megala she'akesher shenoitza al yidei Mizbeach HaTorah hu b'daras hayichida. Oh, he said that the kesher that you make with the Eibishter through the whole function of the Mizbach HaTorahs, that he called the inner Mizbeah, on which you offer only the Torahs. He said that is parallel to the Yechida Sheba Nefesh, and that as well reveals the inyan of Yechida Sheba Nefesh. The Rebbe brings, there's a famous Zoya right near the end of the Zoya in the Idra Zutra, where the Gemara says about the Rashbi, and the Rashbi actually says about himself. It's not that the Zoya says about him, but he says it about himself. And he says that all his life he was bound up with Chad Katira Ish Katana Bay. He said, I was bound up with one knot with a Kodesh Baruch all of my life. And so the question in Chassidus is, what does it mean, one knot? What does that mean? Now, Chassidus teaches it means a knot of one, not just one knot, but a knot of one. In other words, the Rashbi was bound up the whole time with his Yechida. You follow? The Chad Katira is Katana Bay. Oh, Mela.
I don't understand.
Huh?
What did you say? I don't understand that. What's the Pirush you say?
Yeah, he was saying that he's bound up to the Eibishter with one knot.
Yes.
So we're saying that indicates the inam of Yechida Sheba Nefesh. That Chad Katira means a Katira which gives Chad, brings Chad. You follow? Chad Katira. Of Amela, that's the inyan of the Kesher that every year has. What's got to do with the Rashbi? Because he was shy to Pnimis Atur, he brought that out in every year. You follow? Oh, Mela. Therefore, he says, the inyan of the Ktoiras, Ketira, is Katana, or that's got to do with Yechida. So he says, that's the Etzem Nishmos Shal Yudi, or that's the very essence of the Nishama of a Yid, Ima Kodesh Baruch Hu, Shenikra Yochid. The Avis is also called, there's a Tetzaveh in Masechta Menachos, but I'm sorry, it's also but it's in Yevomis also, where Tetzaveh says that the word Yechida is from the word Yochid, and it says that Yechida is referring to the Neshama, and therefore it's written in Lashon Nekeva, Yechida, because you are only a Mekabel from Yochid, who is the Avester, and he's Yochid, Hadikov Lashon Zohar, he is the one and only, and you are Mekabel from him in the way of Yechidah. That's the direct, the direct connection, as an old saying in English. That's the inner, telephone line, that's the direct line to the Avista. And therefore, he said, that's the Maila of the Ketores. So he says, Inyan Zeh Merumas Allah. He said, this Inyan is revealed to us or hinted at, Bekach, Shahamizbach, Amizbach, Murkov, Mi Amois, Mida Yechidiois, Ubaidadais. If you look at the, it's written that the Mizbach as a whole was Amma ala Amma. He said one Amma on another one. And it was high, Amosayim Goipoi. Its height was Amosayim. So he said, albeit Amosayim is two, but it's like two ones. It's not half. There's no half of a mill, but the actual breadth and the length, or there's one Amma Bilva. So the Rebbe said they are called Midash Yechidiois Uboidadois. But that's all indicatory of the inner Yechida. You follow? We're dealing with one and only. Yes. He said, base. There's another remes to that. He said, Bekach Samamone Hakteras Hoyu 11. It's we say in the Brisa of Pitum Hakteras, we say Vachad also Samamonim Hoyu, that there were 11 spices in the Ketores. So we've said on many occasions that the number 11 indicates the idea of the Eibush, how he is beyond the Yasser spheres. Antu Chad V'loi B'chosh Bar. In other words, 11 is 10 and 1. 10 is the whole Seder of Ishtalshalut. As the spirit is the basis of saying. Chad Esrei is 1 higher than that. That indicates how the average is 1 beyond the whole Eser. And therefore he's called Chad Esrei. He's called like a step further up from the whole Seder of Ishtalshalut. That indicates also the idea of Yechidah. Yeah, the average to being Yochid. He said, Gimel, a further indication is that Bo'ubda Shebeshah Shakoyan Haya Maktir, when the coin was being maktir, the Keteros, Hoya also La'af Echad Liyosh B'Mechitzosai. This is a very interesting thing, that when the coin actually went in, the coin that was Zeicha in the pious to have the Keteros, when he went in to light up the Keteros, yeah, after another coin had been made of the 5 ners before that, he went out, that coin that had made the 5 ners, came in the coin that was going to be marked to the Keteros. Nobody else was allowed to be in the whole Mishkan, and nobody else was allowed to be between the Mizbeach and the Ulam, in that area, between the Mizbeach and the entrance to the sanctuary, through the Ulam. Nobody was allowed to be there either. And so that Kohen, when he actually was maktir, he was completely alone. He was absolutely alone in the Mikdash and even in the Azara. There was nobody allowed to be around. And that's even more than on Yom Kippur, because it's written, Benegete Yom Kippur, Kol Adam lo yeh b'yom ha'id, when he went in to be maktir the Keteros in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, nobody was allowed to be in the Mikdash, but people were allowed to be in the Azara between the Mizbeach and the Ulam. People could be there. In the ordinary weekdays, when the Kohen went in to be maktir every day, the Keteros, nobody was allowed to be even on the outside. Nobody was allowed to be. So we see that there's something very special about ordinary Keteros, so-called ordinary, very usual Keteros. Nobody was allowed to be. The Kohen who did the actual Keteros, by the way, he became rich, it was Kedai. It was Baruch Manusa, that whoever was maktir the Keteros became rich, the whole Maison. Yeah, there's a famous Ramah in Masechta Mila. Yeah, the Ramah brings out that you shouldn't give sandik. Sandik is like a coin, a maktir sakter. That's what the Ramah. It's an amazing Ramah. Sorry, right. That if you're a sandik, it's like that you offer up keteros So the Ramah says, therefore it says kula la shiras. Because the coin that was maktir the keteros, he got rich, and therefore you weren't able to give twice to a kohen to be maktir the keteros. Every day had to be a different kohen, because we don't want a guy cashing in twice. Instead, got to give opportunity to other people to cash in. You guys, I see everybody but that happens to be the case. You hear that you're going to get rich, you should all jump up in the seats or something should happen. Never mind, a Kohen that he went into to be maktir the Keteros, he became rich. So anyway, he was completely on his own. Amazing. And then after he'd been maktir the Keteros, then there's still 2 neros that are going to be written. Then it's written a very interesting, when he actually, as they state in the Gemara Masechta Yoma, it's written that he had to be on his own when he offered the actual Keteros. Or when he finished offering the Keteros, there's still 2 lights that are going to be lit. We've only lit 5. So then came in that kohen that he was able to light the lights. He would then come in and they would light the lights together. He would light the lights and he would stand alongside this kohen that had offered up the Keteros in the meantime. And it's written that they would both stand together after he finished the stay neros, and then they would turn around in order to go out together They had to go out b'yachad. So one had to go accompanied the other, and they went out after the whole thing. So Nimtalapi said at the beginning he was absolutely alone. Later he had to go out Dafki with another Yid, and Dafki with another Kohen. In other words, he had to, as it were, he had to schlep another Yid into the great situation which he found himself. You follow? Yeah, we see all the details here of the way the Mishkan function. It's mamish, absolutely mafio. You should realize that the Rabbi's got footnotes here, this long, on every little piece. And the unbelievable bakiyas in the Rebbe, in the whole function of the Mishkan. And he brings all sorts of medrashim and the Tanchuma from here and from there. And the Gemara will say to you, it's just mind-boggling. So we see the reason why the Rebbe demanded yet living with all these inyonim, because that's exactly what was the matter with him. The Rebbe Mamish he lived in these inyonim. He didn't pay attention to what was going on. He was in the Beis Hamikdash. He was living with the whole Seder. You have to do this, and this is what Rabbi Shaul, and this is what Chacham, this is the way we pass it, this is the way it's done. This one can go in, this one comes out, this one has to wait for this one. It's a whole amazing, But anyway, the Rebbe says at that moment that he actually offers up the Keter, he's got to be alone. That indicates the whole idea of Yechidus, absolute oneness, the inyan of the Yechidah Shebenefesh. So Mamela, he says, Akoyen hoye yochid im HaKodesh Baruch Hu. He was Yachid. That indicates the Yechidah Shebenefesh. Another remez is the Parshas Shiur, Parshas Aktoiras, Midaberes Eidos Aktoiras, Shohoyu Maktirim, B'Yom HaKippurim. And we find a very interesting thing at the end of the Parshas, this week's Parshas. The Parshas not only tells about the Mizbach Aktoiras, but it mentions that Achas B'Shona, once a year, he will offer up, on Yom Kippur, on this Mizbeach. You follow? So the Rebbe says, what do you need to mention that for? You're talking about what's supposed to be done every day. What do you need to mention what he's going to do on Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur is the Yechidah of the whole year. And therefore it's called Achas B'Shona, once a year. In other words, that indicates the Yechidah in what he calls mocking. And Yom HaKippurim is the Yechidah in Zman. That's what he says. In the thing of Amela, he says, as Midaber Zayd Aktor Shoyu Maktirim B'Yom HaKippurim, Shoz Yesh Yichud Mushlam Bein HaYechidah Shebenefesh Lebein HaKodesh Baruch Hu Shenikra Yochid. On Yom Kippur, the head called the Yechidah finds the Yochid. The Yechidah meets up with the Yochid. Shenikra Yochid Lochen Gam Mitzaynim Bamiras Parshas Akteres B'Chol Yom Gam Es Akteres Shoyes Yom Kippur. Therefore, when you say the Akteres every day, it could be you're just used to saying it over, But what do? Right at the beginning, you say that there was 368 manot hoyimbo. That's when they made it. They only made it once a year, that. They made the whole terrace enough for them, and they just took what they needed for every day. It's written that the Kohen Gadol, he put in, what they made for the whole year was 365. Well, that's the days of the year. Says, if you say every day terrace, that's what you say. But how do you get 368? Because there were 3 manot that the Kohen Gadol used very specially on Erev Yom Kippur, and he munched it away very, very specially. That should be daka min hadari. where are you guys? You said every day in Dublin. Everybody looking at me as if I'm coming from Mars or something. Yeah, you say it every day in Dublin. You say money with Sam, Shahim, he's going to go beyond. Yeah, you say it every day. So the Rabbi says, what's up, Yom Kippur in midnight ordinary weekday? Elamai, that the Torah has got this whole union of Yochid, and that's Bishlemus on Yom Kippur, and that has an effect on your Yochid with the Eibishter's Yochid every day. That makes and they have an interconnection, one with the other.
It's very interesting that Aaron's sons, they tummied themselves with the very thing Aaron was commanded to do.
Aaron's sons, but the actual lighting of the menorah didn't have to be B'Kern Gadol. It's just a certain Meforshim, Taina, and they bring Medrashim to show. They say the Kol that Aaron was alive, he was medactic always to light the ner. And therefore it's mentioned that he did it. Of a Me'etzematin, it doesn't have to be him, it could be either him or any one of his sons. You follow? Over the Torahs in the Kodesh HaKadoshim on Yom Kippur, that's only the Kohen. You follow? Over Mela, so we're beginning to get a sort of quite an amazing package deal here, right? So now the Rabbi says, Lahor Yisrael. Now the Rabbi is going to deal all this amazing Indian, the Torahs and all this unbelievable kesher with the Yochid of the Eibishter and the other Sachen. What is required of a Yid that he take all of that and he's got to light up the world with it, you understand? Why does the Haktoras, why does the Hadlokas Haneres occur together with the Ladasa Chachamim right in the middle, you know? The telling split up in 5 and 2 is only because your ultimate task is to take that Indian of what you got of Yochid, with the Eibishter's Yochid, and light up the world with that. You've got to make sure. So you might say, well, wait a minute, the natives were inside the Mikdash, nobody saw them. So the Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos that the natives were Eidos for Kol Boy Oilom. Kol Boy Oilom is anybody. And he called any I don't want to use the expression in English. Any old guy, he could notice that this is Aidas L'Kol Bo'ilom. They were inside, and you weren't allowed to go into Elamai. The Mishkan and things that were inside it, they affected the outside. It was possible to know, even though you didn't see it. The Neres, they are Aidas. Aidas means they give witness to all the people of the world. Doesn't matter who, that the Shekhinah is Shiur Israel. That the Shekhinah is there in the base of Mikdash. They give that out, and that's what the Neres do. You've got to take, since you have a Mishkan inside yourself, and you are a walking Mishkan, then you've got to take that Torah that you make, and that Kesher that you make with the Eibishter, that one and only Kesher, you've got to make sure that lights up the world. You've got to make sure that goes out into the Oilom, and it's got to be a Eidasul L'Kol Boy Oilom, Shashchina Shruya B'Yisrael. Well, that's one of the connections with Parshas Tetzaveh. That the whole union of Tetzaveh is a chibur, tzabso. Tetzaveh is Russian chibur, and tzabso. Tzabso in Aramaic is like a unity between two entities that tie themselves together. You've got to tie together the world with the absolute Gilui Elikus, B'Omen Yochid, that there is in the base of Mikdash, and you've got to make sure that go out into the whole world. That's got to, that Yichud, Mushlam, that's the highest form of Yichud, that's got to go out into the world. The Rebbe builds on that now, a whole amazing case that the Abish made it another amazing thing, that every day when you wake up in the morning, you're like a berry chadosha. You're like a new created being. So that's why you have to wash your hands according to the Rashba and everyone. You're like a new being that you're just starting off, the whole Aveda. So before he began the Aveda, had to wash his hands. That means that you're starting every day all over again, as it were. So you got to realize that the ultimate perfection is to make the most perfect connection with the Torahs, but together with the Neiras, you've got to, you're telling that you don't have the Beis Hamikdash right now. You are the Beis Hamikdash. You are the walking Beis Hamikdash. You've got to make all that happen. And so the Rebbe says, how do you do that? Through Kriya Shema. How do you get it in your own soul? Through the infant Kriya Shema and Shemon Esrei. And the Rebbe's Marik held through Kriya Shema, Kemuboim, Shorish Mitzvahs Atfilin, Barihas from the Rebbe Tzemach. You wake up your Echad and your Yochid with the Avestas, Yochid. And then Shemon Esrei is absolute bittul b'matzias, k'ayab to come and more with the whole Indian. And then you get this tremendous kili of Yochid. And what he's supposed to do after that, he's supposed to light up the world. So it could be you don't have to spend your whole day, when you're done, lighting up the world. You have to sit and learn Torah, and you have to have your Kriya Sitim, and you have to have your Shulim, and the Al Inyonim. All of that you build up through those Inyonim, that will give you the courage to light up the world. And when you will make kesher with the world, you'll be a litika, walking mishkan. You follow? And the Gilead, the Chad Katira is Katana. The Gilead of that one and only Yechida, that will light up what you're doing, and other people will realize that and they will benefit from it. Of a Mela, it's a pretty amazing formula. And the Rebbe says that every generation and every Zman has got its own particular speciality. And therefore, we have to realize that our Indian is to light up the world with the message of the Geula. You follow? And we've got to give over that the whole Indian of the arousal of the Yechida and the Etzem Iskashus of a Yid with Etzem, and of course, well, that's got to become Biyomahu Yehavai Shem Echad Avaya Echad V'Shem V'Shmo Echad. So, yeah, we're going to reveal the Etzem Actus and the Actus Pshuta in the world, Pshuta, and we're going to be Neiras. And that's what the Rabbi Rashab said in the Tomei Tmimim, that the Tmimim have to be Ne'erot Laho here. That was one of the things that he said the whole Kavanah of the yeshiva was to make the Talmidim Ne'erot Laho here, to light up the world with the light and with these scholars of Melech HaMashiach, B'Poel Mamish. Amen. Can you hear? Rotzen. So that's pretty much, complete picture. There's a few more points that we could have brought out, but that gives a pretty general summing up of the whole amazing Sikha. Ramela Hashem Shalom, Ka'inti Elano, Poel Mamish, Gili HaYechida, Harikot, Yochid Shalakosh, in the Yechida of every year, and that should become Litik and Levity, should light up the whole world. And that will be B'Shleimas through Melech Mashiach. I'm sorry?
Can I bring my statement?
Yeah, sure. So listen, we have once again with us Rabbi Shlango. Everybody's familiar with him already, and he has another sefer to show. And this sefer that he wants to show is all about all the sefers of the Rebbe about Eretz Yisrael, about the Shleimus order and everything. And it's a very beautiful sefer. He's going to show it to you.
Gentlemen, I
This
want
is-
to keep you.
This is
I
Mami's,
spent a few moments.
all the
here.
sikhas of the Rebbe about Eretz Yisrael.
This time is fine, you're not competing anyway, this time is good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those who don't know,
We stay a little while.
Has other Rabbi Gafne's wedding
so-
anniversary.
I just want to make a little point that, excuse me, Benjamin, I just want to add just one little extra point. And that is tonight, Tess Moitiv, or Tess Oder, not tonight, but during the day. Well, that's the day the Friedrich Rebbe arrived in Artsabri, Tess Oder.
Tomorrow.
That's, no, today was Tess.
Oh, no.
Tomorrow is Jewish.
Today's Rabbi Gafne's wedding anniversary.
Today was Tess Oder.
You brought extra copies?
Yeah, well, can I just say a couple of words? May I say a couple of
Today
words?
was Tess.
Sure.
Yes, today is test.
Thursday.
Yes.
Tomorrow is Jewish.
Tomorrow's you.
Friday is Jewish.
Yeah.
Friday.
It's a matter, that's the day the Friedrich Rebbe arrived in Artsabri. And so it's well known that when he came into the hotel where he was going to stay, the first couple of days, the Friedrich Rebbe, he said that unfortunately, America is like ice. How do you call it? It's like an iceberg, a big iceberg.
A little cold.
He said that Beis Hashem, he said, we're gonna have to start the ice melting. We're gonna have to start melting the ice. That's well known. And later,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
5 years later, in Toshin Hay, on Simchas Torah, the Rebbe Rayatz said, the Baruch Hashem, the ice has already began melting. It's already began melting. And we learned last night in Amman, in Tzemach from the Rebbe Rashab, we learned that the Indian of Amoli and the whole chutzpah, the whole Artus Konim, Neged Elokus von Amoli comes from Kriras. I should call from the Terra. And Rashi brings up there a whole marshal of that he called a hot bath, boiling bath. Nobody would ever go into it because it was so hot. And somebody came along and jumped in and he came out alive. What did he do? He cooled off the whole bath. People no longer saw it as a hot bath. It was just a cold bath. In the middle, it was a whole pu'ula of cooling off. And that's the Indian of Amoli. Amoli is the Indian of Kriras. And that's the Indian of ice. You follow? That's Derech Agav, the Indian of Purim. That's the whole Indian of Machshavas, Homan, Harosha, that he left over Machshova, and that Machshova affects us in all the generations. Machshavas, Homan, Harosha. So the whole Indian of Lubavitch, the Rebbe said the whole Indian of Lubavitch is to begin to melt that ice. You follow that Indian from Kriras. And that infant cooling off everything in the eyes of the Elohim, and that is the immediate Indian, the chutzpah and the others, funny, of a mirror. That's the message of, Tess Oder. It's the beginning of the war of the leader of Lubavitch. The leader of Lubavitch and Mamela, all of Lubavitch, against the ice, against the Kriras and the Clippers, Amali. Mamela, Hashem Shalom, Beis Hashem. It's also put down in Torah Europe and again to Parshas Tetzaveh that the Ikes Simchas Yom Mitzvah, the way to make your mitzvahs be poil, the gila in sof, but that's in for yohi. It after simcha. Dafke to Simcha, so mitzvah. But that's the terror. You have to be nilcham in the eyes. You follow? You've already talked about too. I'm going over to you now, Rabbi. Is that's also got to do with the fact that Ania Cotton, my Yom Nisuin, my wedding anniversary is Tetzaveh.
Fine. Serious tables.
That's it's also the Simcha. It also helps to melt the ice.
ישמע בערי יהודה ובחוצות ירושלים חסן בכל שמחה חסן בכל קלה מהרה ישמע בערי יהודה ובחוצות ירושלים חסן בכל שמחה خاصا بكرة هيدا
So now we go to Rabbi Yomin, and he will give us a beer and a background when we get to his safely.
Let's gather together from many more simchas.
Amen.
Next year, the same date, and the year after, and the year after, Nitzchi.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yes.
We'll come back every year for the simcha, Chai Nitzchi.
Amen. And now I hope.
I spent, this is my, well, these are 120 sikhs of the Rebbe on keeping Eretz Yisrael safe. We call it in Chabad Shleimus Haaretz. This has never been given out in English, and this took me 5 years to put together. The sources I used was a sefer called Korossi Ve'en Oine, which is like 900 pages of the Rebbe's talking about this, keeping this country safe. And then there are videos in Yechidus and many other sources which I put together. I'll just tell you that there are many stories besides interviews. Rebbe speaking to Netanyahu and Sharon and Begin, which is like all in this book. I just like to tell you a particular story. I mean, it's really, I'll say it myself in terms of, I'm actually giving this away half price. The Sifriya in Yerushalayim are selling this for 150 shekels. I'm offering this for 75 shekels. And it's just beautifully presenting pictures.
They're selling it Hechel Menachem,
They're selling them out for 150 shekels. But I've got these here, this source, and I'm offering it to you for 75 shekels. And there's some beautiful things here. Here's pictures here of his Tsfat, a British artist, visited Eretz Yisrael in 1845. And these are drawings, copies of drawings of this one above is what Tiberia looked like in 1845. That's Tiberia in 1845, and this bottom is Hebron in 1845.
Wow.
And I have many more pictures like that. And here's the cave of David HaMelech, which says David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayim. I just tell, I don't like to be married, I'm not a big speaker. I'll tell you a short story. There was a Jew, he wasn't religious, and his Zayda took him to visit the Rebbe, and it's a long, phenomenal, interesting story, which is several chapters which I've brought here. And the last chapter is entitled, "The Last Time I Met the Rebbe." He comes to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe gives him $1, and the Rebbe gives him another $1. And he was going on a mission for the government of Israel. And he used to share with the Rebbe and ask the Rebbe's advice. I'm speaking a bit louder, so if you don't mind, I'm speaking a bit louder. So. And he would ask the Rebbe, tell the Rebbe his secret missions. There's always been terrorists around the world. And he would share this with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe would give him guidelines. So he writes that the last time he came to the Rebbe, he received $1, and the Rebbe gave him a second $1, and he told the Rebbe he has to fly to the Crimea. To Crimea, yeah? So the Rebbe gives him $1 and says, give this $1 to a Jew in Stuttgart. Stuttgart is the name of a city in Germany. He says to the Rebbe, there's a line from dollars, right? Behind him, in front of him. He says to the Rebbe, but I'm not going to Stuttgart. He's not going there. But the Rebbe didn't respond, like ignore that remark. And he was pushed on, and the next person came, and he went, go next that night. He gets on a plane, and they're flying, and the pilot announces, we have an emergency landing. And they land in Stuttgart. The emergency landing, and they land in Stuttgart. So he's sitting there. I mean, there's a lot in here, you know. Not everybody is like everything. Well, this is a miracle story you're going to hear in a minute. There's 120 titles here about Hebron, about Yerushalayim, the old city. They want to give it away. They don't say it's given to us by God. If the government of Israel would say this is God-given, the nations would be stormed. They wouldn't have what to answer. They make up all stories why it belongs to a Balfour Declaration and this, and we've been here for so many years. They say all the wrong things, and that's why there's pressure by the Goyim. If they would say the emes me'eretz Tzemach, the truth has to come out of Eretz Israel. If you do something which is say something to the Goyim which is fake, then you get ongoing pressure. Back to our story. He's sitting in the plane in Stuttgart, and an old Jew comes over and sits next to him. And he starts moaning the guy, and they get one beer and a second beer and a third beer. And he's sitting there, and they're waiting for the pilot or the engineers to fix the fault in the plane. In the meantime, they're talking, and the guy says to him, implies, but it comes across, that this old man was a multi-millionaire. He was an old man, he was a billionaire. And he's telling him the story, how he's a survivor from the Holocaust and his family, So this Jew who's got $1 in his pocket from the Rebbe says to him, listen, I've just come from New York. In New York, there's a very great rabbi, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he gave me $1 to give to a Jew in Stuttgart. Now, I know you don't need $1, he says to this multi-millionaire. But this $1 carries with it blessing. And the Rebbe said, give this to a Jew in Stuttgart. So the guy shouts out, he says, but I'm not Jewish. I converted. I'm a Nazi.
Whoa,
he says, I converted.
Wow.
The guy, so he takes out the $1 and he says to him, maybe you lived like a Gentile, but you should die as a Jew. And he gave the $1 to this man. And as he gave him the $1, he saw tears trickling down from his eyes onto his cheek of this Jew. And he says to himself, this is the man that the Rebbe must have meant. A man who is like on the brink, on the edge, to assimilate it. The Rebbe wanted to save a Jew that was a kishmat, he gave up his faith, and even such a Jew at the end of the cliff should be brought back. So that's just
Chaim.
That's all I have to say. I'm not a big speaker. I could talk a lot more about this, but the money's culture. Anyway, whoever would like to copy this book, I have it with me. You can have 75 shekels. You want two? You can have two for.
Very good.
If Shlomo wants to go back,
That's me.
Get rid of all the books.
Huh? You said it's 75, so we can. Not 750, it's 150.
This is 150?
Yeah.
Oh,
I haven't read these, but I will soon.
Oh, okay.
So like that, right in front of me.
Take two and call me in the morning.
You are overtaken by men, coronavirus, blah.
Are these all dated for today? When is
Yeah.
today? Today?
Oh, yeah. 19th February.
and maybe you can give her a shul commission. I didn't know commission. We should tell them. You know, we should give him a few books, and he could sell it to those that are not. He could publicize it. Score.
You could sell 10 books to people for sure, 20 books maybe if you leave some here.
He's somebody. He's very honest.
No, I know that, but I don't want to. But,
Give them 1 1/4 books.
5 and 10 books.
Rabbi Gafne, Mazel Tov and Simon Tov. Hey, Lanu. Tell me, did they say Yehi Adonai? Did they sing Yehi Adonenu at your wedding?
Huh?
Did they sing Yehi Adonenu at your wedding?
Those days, then the sort of, become real.
what for you, brother? Is that one for you? No.
And they become.
You have 20, that's a good start.
The banker's here.
Ketoris, man.
I got it already.
You got the hundred you usually give them.
Yeah.
He's all set, just give him the 20 back. It's okay, I gave him the 25 from Gabriel.
So what do I do now?
What do you do now?
Do I owe money or books or what?
You owe somebody,
I
was that your 20 shekels?
I don't
This is
know.
mine.
No, what's his name bought a book also? That's his the
So I'd
other
like to clarify, but I want on the phone.
Gafne wants a book.
To make me an inscription?
You got 25 right there.
Yeah, I know, I've got to give 25 to
Right,
somebody.
Gafne.
20?
5.
5 shekels.
Take 5.
I don't have 5. Rabbi, Gafne, could I put the 5 shekels? Can I put the 5 shekels in tzedakah? I'll do that.
It'll be my privilege.
Thank you, thank you. You're going to enjoy this, gentlemen. It's not heavy learning, but it's so relevant.
Yeah.
It is so relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, today,
It's very sad.
today Trump's son-in-law, I don't want to say names, it was Lashon Hara. Today Trump's son-in-law said they're trying to get peace by B'derech Agav. There's an article here, there's wherever, it's only on video, it's not printed, that the Noisei Slav, the Crusaders, came to take over Jerusalem to bring peace to the world. The
Right.
Crusaders of today don't come and say we want to slaughter and annihilate the Jewish people. They come along and say we want to have peace.
Right.
We wanted to have peace with murderers, with Meshugoyim, with lunatics, you know? And this talk about peace
Yeah.
is the Crusaders of today,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
the Crusaders of today.
Yeah. The Crusaders were mildly giving these guys.
Well, the Crusaders killed hundreds of thousands, the way.
My name is Dr. Diesel, participating in scripture.
And you should realize, Vignon, that I once heard a Sikha from the Poisenberger, you know, the
Yes.
previous sons of Rabbi, he was in Auschwitz.
Yes.
And when they were released, when the Russians came in, and eventually miraculously,
Yes.
they were released, they walked out of the part of the camp that they never went. They would never be allowed in there.
Yes.
And they walked past us. They could hardly drag themselves along. But they walked past, and there was a big, what's it called, a building that you just build in Korea. I've forgotten the word in English. But
Cemetery.
yeah, like a big building, and it had Arabic on it.
Had what on it?
Arabic
Arabic?
Yeah, in Arabic.
Yes.
Russian. And the Polish Yidden and the others that were still just dragging themselves along, they didn't understand what language it was.
Yes.
But the Kloisenberger, he knew that was Arabic. And he said to them, look, he said, the real Torah, of this whole camp was the Hebrew.
Were Arabs?
The Arabs.
Where you talking in Nazi Germany?
This was at the end of the Second World War when the Russians.
In Europe?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a whole bunch of Arab sheikhs and other people that they were running the whole crematorium. So you need to know where we're really home. And Buddha said, the Eberste is Am Levada Yishkoin. And that Levada, he says at the end of the secret, that's the Slichida that we're talking about. Am Levada Yishkoin.
Thank you so much.
There's the Rebbe says at the end of the Sikha that isolation of the Jewish people is Lamal Yusa. That's Am Levada Yishkoin. That's a uniform yachid.
Rabbi, somebody broke into my cabinet here, and they took my tefillin.
Hey, what?
They stole my tefillin from my cabinet over here.
Somebody stole it from you?
Yeah.
When was this?
Monday.
Wow. Somebody got into your cabinet?
Yeah. Gone.
How do you explain that?